Hello and welcome everybody to a brand new episode of r/ProRevenge. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do, however, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button, as well as make sure you got notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. Our first tale of tubular revenge comes to us 3 months ago from Sniddle23, and it's called Besting a Travel Insurer. In 2013, my dad passed away while my brother and I were on our own independent international adventures. I was in Spain and my brother was in Canada, and we needed to get back to Australia. My travel insurance was dodgy, but eventually paid out after a few complaints, which is pretty standard practice. My brother tried to claim $9K. He could only get one emergency seat on a bunch of connecting flights with that and his flight back after the funeral, etc. And all other cancellations. It all added up. Shock, horror. His claim was rejected. Back then, there wasn't an industry body that dealt with the travel insurance companies, or if there was, we had no idea what it was. So my bro went through the usual hurdles involved with the appeals and complaint process. Eventually, they told him that his claim for $9,326 was rejected and their determination was final. So, back then, companies didn't really have Twitter handles, especially not insurance companies. So my bro, Ever the Troll, created a Twitter handle in this insurance company's name, complete with their official logo. He quickly set about gaining thousands of followers and legitimately began answering their questions with truthful, albeit quite negative responses. Things like, "My daughter and I want to travel to Paris. What insurance cover would you recommend? We would recommend you take the premium for our comprehensive cover and burn it. We don't like to pay out on any insurable event because it upsets our shareholders. Have fun in Paris." The insurance company got wind of this and sent him a cease and desist. My brother counter-offered with a contract for the company to purchase the Twitter account and 2,500 potential customers for the very reasonable price of $9,326. They agreed. The next story is brought to us 2 months ago by Extra Chaotic Good, and it's called Teacher Makes False Claims of Me Faking an Injury, So My Mom Messes with Her Career. I, a 15-year-old female, have had a long and elaborate history with injuries, especially breaking my arm. Starting from literally the day I was born, my health has been complicated. I have a few conditions, but nothing serious enough to impact my daily life as I know it. I have a very weak immune system and somewhat easy to break bones. On top of that, I'm the definition of clumsy. I'm also a huge idiot who gets herself into dangerous situations for fun. My mom, a 40-year-old, has obviously known me from birth and knows just the extent of my weird bad luck and health issues. I've broken my arms a collective of 13 times over my entire life, and almost every time I got injured or sick, it seems somebody had something to say about it. I don't know why, but teachers love to say that students get hurt often or are attention-seeking fakers, and a lot of relationships with authority figures have been harmful because of this. Every time, it's the same. For some reason, a teacher doesn't believe me, they call me a liar in front of everyone, I get bullied for a while, and then I have to try and prove that I'm not faking. I could post so many stories about teachers doing this, but this is a story about the time my mom actually managed to get revenge. This all took place around 7th grade. I was 12 at the time, and I had broken my wrist climbing on top of something I wasn't supposed to, and then falling off like a dumbass. My wrist was in a Velcro cast since I'm very allergic to the regular casts, as they figured out through many cases of trial and error. My teacher, who we'll call Mrs. Tablet, since this took place while we were learning about Egyptian tablets, taught history and our personalities clashed a bit. I'm more of a creative, adventurous, free thinker type, and she was very conservative, by the book, and proper. We hadn't really had any issues before this, but we just overall didn't mesh well. She was absent one day and we had a sub in. I knew the sub as one of my teacher's friends and one of my bully's mom. I didn't like her, but I was still respectful in class and just tried to get my work done. She got me in trouble for doodling on my paper once or twice, but other than that, everything was fine, or so I thought. The next day, I went into class like usual. We were working on an assignment about Egypt and their tables when Miss Tablet called me over to her desk. I went over, thinking she had just gotten on to me for drawing on the back of my homework or something, only to be bombarded with a bunch of really weird questions. The interaction went something like, "So, Fire, do you know why I've called you up here?" I know Fire isn't my Reddit name, but it's my IRL nickname, so I'm using it here. "No, ma'am, I can't say I do." "How long have you had that cast?" "About a week now." "Do you really need that cast?" Yes." "Well, the substitute told me she saw you take it off." "It's a cast. I can't take it off. That would hurt." "So if I asked the class, they'd say you need that cast?" "Yeah." "And if I called your parents right now, they'd say the same thing?" "Yeah, they were the ones that took me to the hospital." And she did this in front of the whole class. I was eventually dismissed, and people looked at me weird for the rest of class. As I later learned, apparently the substitute told Miss Tablet I had taken my cast off as soon as I left class. I did not, and that I threw it in my locker like, haha, I'm getting away with less work. Basically, she pretended I was a bad guy in a crappy high school movie. I don't know why she said this, but it had my teacher convinced that I was a liar and a fake. I technically could remove my cast since it was Velcro, but that would have been extremely painful, and it's not like I could just walk around with it. I wasn't going to make a big deal about it at the time, but it turns out she was serious about calling my parents. She made the big mistake of calling my mom, however. Now, me and my mom don't have a perfect relationship, as she has anger issues and we don't always get along well, but she loves me very much and doesn't let people like this mess with me if she can stop it. According to my mom, Mrs. Tablet called her all cocky and said things like, "Apparently, your daughter is wearing a cast. Did you know that?" And, "Well, we all know how dramatic teenage girls can be, especially unique kids like her." She apparently even threatened to have me suspended before my mom stopped her and tore her to shreds for talking about her child like that. I don't think I'm allowed to repeat what she said, but by the end, Miss Tablet had to retreat with her tail tucked between her legs. She started being even more cold to me after that day and started giving me unfair detentions for not sitting still and doodling on the sides of my worksheet. Even then, outside of school, we went to the same art studio sometimes. Weird that someone who hates art so much likes to paint. And poisoned the art director against me and got me put in a lower class. When my mom found out about this, she started the real revenge. My mom has never been a PTA mom. She honestly can't stand most of the PTA members, and kids are chosen as favorites at my school and use this power to bully others, including me and my friends. My mom is, however, friends with a very lovely woman on the courtesy school board, or the county school board, my bad, which has more power than the PTA. She told her friend everything that had happened and supplied all of the doctor's notes needed to prove I needed my cast. Her friend managed to convince the rest of the board that Miss Tablet was discriminating against an impaired student, given her comments about me being slower at work and just wearing the cast to slack off, along with detentions related to me not sitting still when she knew I had nervous moments and slight ADHD. At the art studio, my mom pulled me from the classes. I took it upon myself to inform the fellow kids about why, and rumors spread quickly. Soon enough, kids were getting pulled left and right, and my art teacher was pulling all the strings to try and get the situation under control. I actually think the studio went into temporary closure before reopening again. She was suspended for a week to undergo investigation, and it turns out she treated a lot of unique students, as she put it, in a similar way. She was verbally reprimanded by 2 different departments, and instead of getting her standard raise over the next 3 years, she'll only get half of it. Not only that, but she had to retake a course on how to properly treat students, and if she's ever caught crossing this line again, she'll lose tenure. She'll just be getting her bonus at the start of the next school year, and I'd like to say that I hope she learned her lesson. TLDR, teacher claims I'm faking my broken wrist, calls my mom calls her friend at the county school board and gets her suspended for discrimination, and gets unfair art program temporarily closed. Edit. I had misremembered the punishment given to that teacher. Upon asking my mom to retell the story, I fixed it to make it accurate. Thank you to the Redditor that pointed out the mistake. I suppose that my 12-year-old self remembered a raise as a bonus for some reason. Well, there you have it, everybody. A little bit shorter, but we have reached the end of the content portion of today's video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like, as well as make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you could stay up to date with all the latest and greatest here on the channel. Are there any other subreddits you'd like us to check out? I know we've been sticking to the usual Reddit format just because we don't want to stray too far away from our name here, but if there's something new you'd like to see, we would love to put it on the channel. You know, we can only read as many stories as are written, so if there's something you'd rather hear me talk about instead, you let me know in that dang old comment section, and I promise I'll read it. But enough about that. If you're still listening, you're waiting for me to wrap this thing up. As always, my name's Ryan, the voice behind Reddit Voice, and I upload just about every single day, and look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.